What will the future of the Big 12 look like? It's bigger, it's bolder than ever. But where does it go from here? Stick around as we dive into this topic and talk about the future of this exciting conference. We will talk about expansion, we will talk about stability, we will talk about football and basketball's role in the future of this conference. And what does it all mean for fans like you and fans like me? So stick around and we'll have that conversation right after this word from one of my channel sponsors. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident, are fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf college football news and analysis around the West Virginia Mountaineers, the Big 12, and occasionally a little conference realignment. Today on tap is Big 12 talk. We're talking about the future of this exciting conference, the stability, if there is any, of this exciting conference. Right now, the Big 12 has 16 teams in this league. Everybody thought the Big 12 was dead, 2.5 years ago. August of 2021, Oklahoma and Texas announced they're leaving. Everybody left the Big 12 out to die. Thought they were left for dead. They were down to 8 teams. 8 solid teams. Like Baylor. Like Iowa State. Like Kansas State. Oklahoma State. TCU. Texas Tech. West Virginia. 8 solid brands with 8 great fan bases. But that wasn't enough. They needed something more. So what they do? They go out, they add the 3 best brands in the American Conference in Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati, a team who had been to the college football playoff just a year prior. And in addition to that, they go out and add a very strong brand in BYU, a strong private school backed by one of the largest churches in the world, with a very strong NIL. And as we see, they are competitive in both major sports across the country. Men's basketball and football. 4 great additions to the league that help stabilize the conference. Yes, Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, they don't bring a ton of TV eyeballs. But had the Big 12 not added those schools when they did, they do not get the TV deal that they were able to land to keep the conference afloat because it gave them enough inventory to be attractive to the TV networks. Then what happens a year later? They add the 4 corner schools from the Pac-12 in Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. 4 more solid and even bigger brands, some may argue, than the ones they added previously. Making for a very exciting 16-team league. And they were able to bounce back. Yes, they lost 2 marquee brands. There's no doubt about it. The loss of Texas and Oklahoma hurt the Big 12. There's no sugarcoating that. But instead of the conference dying, they actually got a TV deal that was above and beyond what they had before. Yes, it wasn't as big as it could have been, but at least they didn't go backwards in TV revenue. They actually went forward. Brett Yormark was able to jump the line, get the TV deal done before the Pac-12, which led to the Pac-12's collapse, and it ultimately led to them getting those 4 corner schools. Their value is now up to about $50 million per school, all in when you include TV revenue, when you include college football playoff money, when you include NCAA tournament money and everything. They're about $50 million a school, which is more than they were before. I call that a win, considering where they were. No doubt about it. They're now a solid league. A conference that was once left for dead is now a solid, stable conference, at least in the short term. But that's the short term because the football landscape in college athletics, or really the whole college athletics landscape never sleeps. So let's look at what's going to keep this Big 12 conference strong going forward. First, let's look at the strengths of this conference. They're very competitive in football, as shown by the 2024 results. You had a team like Arizona State representing the league in the national or in the college football playoff, taking Texas all the way to the wire, taking them into overtime. Texas, a team who played for the national championship and actually had a chance to win that game at the end, or at least tie it with Ohio State. Texas could have won that title game. Arizona State played with them all the way to the end and really had a really good, legit chance to win that game. They were in a four-way tie for first place in the conference with Colorado, BYU, and Iowa State. That sounds like a competitive league to me. You got a league where the last place team is capable of beating the first place team on any given Saturday. You've got a conference with geographic reach across the country. You go all the way from Orlando, Florida to Salt Lake City, Utah, across all 4 time zones in major TV markets like Orlando, like Salt Lake City, like Phoenix, Arizona, like Houston, Texas, like Dallas, Fort Worth, like Denver, Colorado. Some very strong TV markets. You've got schools like Arizona State and UCF with very large alumni bases, 2 of the largest enrollments in the country. Some very, very good brands and schools where the future looks bright. And that's not even, we cannot forget the basketball. Let's talk about basketball for a minute. You've got Kansas, one of the blue bloods of college basketball. You've got Baylor, who won a national title a few years ago. You've got Texas Tech, who played for a national title a few years ago. You have Houston, who's playing in this year's national championship game. The Big 12 will have had 4 teams playing the national championship game the last 6 years. That's pretty darn good if you ask me. And then they go out and add Arizona. Not too shabby. Look how good BYU's playing right now. They made a run in the tournament. The future looks bright there. It's a hoops juggernaut, folks. Was it the best team in the country in 2024-25? No, probably not. But I would argue it was the second best league in the country. The SEC clearly was the best league top to bottom in basketball this year. There's no arguing that. But the Big 12, in my opinion, was second. And in the past several years before this one, it had been first, in my opinion. Look at the passion of the fan bases. You've got schools like West Virginia, Oklahoma State, who have 2 of the larger fan bases in the country, probably top 35, top 40, maybe top 30 in fan base size. You have very passionate fan bases in Kansas, Utah, BYU. Just keep going down the list. I could name every school just about. Some very strong and passionate fan bases who love their teams, who are engaged with their teams, who attend games, who are all over social media talking about their teams. Now, the Big 12 has got the tools to thrive, but could it grow even bigger? So let's talk expansion for a minute. Let's put our thinking cap on, our speculation cap on, in honor of the late, great Golden Blue dude who just last week we mourned the 2-year anniversary of his passing. Let's speculate for a minute. Let's look at what Yormark's done in the past since he's been in charge of the Big 12. He went out and he was able to grab the 4 corner schools after he jumped in line and got the TV deal done. He's been very aggressive in pursuing teams like UConn and Gonzaga. Let's look at, you pair that ambition and his open for business mantra with the uncertainty of the ACC right now. Yes, the ACC got that extended deal with ESPN. Yes, they got the agreements with Florida State and Clemson. But I'm telling you, I'm still not confident the ACC is solidified long term. Maybe even not until 2031 like people think. Because remember, as part of that agreement, as part of that settlement, the buyout got lowered drastically. Teams can now leave the ACC much cheaper than they could 6 months ago. And it drops every single year. So within the next 2 to 3 years, we can start seeing teams announce they're leaving the ACC. When that happens, we may see the Big 12 try to pounce and grab a few of those ACC teams. Do they grab a team like Louisville? Do they grab an NC State or a Virginia Tech or a Pitt or a Georgia Tech or whoever, a Syracuse? I don't know. Heck, is it even possible that they grab a team like Florida State or Clemson? There's been reports that the Big Ten or SEC may not want Florida State and Clemson, at least not right now. Now, I think that's unlikely. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Florida State and Clemson would leave the ACC for the Big 12, especially with the new unequal revenue sharing model they have. But I wouldn't rule it out completely. If the Big 12 is able to get a private capital deal done that increases their revenue stream and somehow are able to move ahead of the ACC, then maybe it entices the schools like Florida State and Clemson to come over. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but let's speculate on that for a minute. What if they go out and what if they decide to expand their Western footprint even more and they grab Oregon State or Washington State, or they do finally get Or Brett Yormark finally does get his wish and they get UConn out of the Northeast. Or they grab a Gonzaga for basketball. What if they poach a few more G5 teams like Memphis or Boise State? I mean, heck, who knows what the future holds for the Big 12? But let me know in the comments, who do you think the Big 12 should add? Drop your thoughts and ideas in the comments section. And despite all these speculations, despite all these strengths that the Big 12 has, there are also some challenges that this league faces. The first one being the revenue gap. Yes, I mentioned the Big 12's $50 million a year. But the SEC and Big 10 right now are sitting at around 70, 80, maybe even 90 million a year per team. How does the Big 12 compete with that? Year in, year out. It's going to be tough, especially if they're not able to get a private capital deal done. And heck, even if they do get a private capital deal done, the Big 10's in talk with private capital too. The SEC could very easily get a private capital deal too. Then the gap just stays the same or even gets bigger. But the Big 12 also has other ways. They can go out and get a deal with Allstate. There's been talks about a conference naming rights deal with Allstate to call it the Allstate 12 or whatever. There are other revenue streams like logos on the field, logos on jerseys if the NCAA will approve it. But again, if they do all that, the other leagues can do it too. So how do they really close that gap? I don't know. That's a huge challenge the Big 12 has to try to overcome. I'm not sure they can. I think they just have to be creative and try to compete and do, quote unquote, more with less, because they're going to be one of the, quote, have-nots, at least in the power conferences anyway, among the power conferences. You've got travel logistic issues in the Big 12. Teams having to travel, for example, UCF to Salt Lake City is about a 2,000-mile trip. That's not easy for student athletes. Crossing time zones to play, especially those in Olympic sports when they play multiple games a week. It takes time out of the classroom, takes time away from campus. It's a challenge. Let's face it, it is a challenge, but they are not the only conference dealing with that or the only team dealing with that in today's landscape. Then you've got the competition of trying to compete with those schools who have the more resources, like the Big 10 and the SEC. They play in the same college football playoff structure. But the Big 10 and SEC are basically in control of that college football playoff. They decide what teams, they can decide how it's governed. They may even get more teams in automatically every year. How does the Big 12 keep pace with that? When you've got brands like Texas, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, just to name a few, how do they keep pace with those schools when those schools are not only making more money, but now they're making decisions on who gets to compete for the playoff? I mean, how do you compete with that? These challenges are real for the Big 12, and it's definitely an uphill climb for Brett Yormark and Big 12 administrators to figure all this out, the school presidents to figure all this out. But the Big 12 has bold ideas to try to stay competitive. Let's see what some of those are. We've heard Brett Yormark talk about international play. We know that the Farmageddon game between Iowa State and Kansas State will be played in Ireland this year. We've heard about the Big 12 in Mexico ideas he's kicked around. He had the Rucker Park idea. Now, that's not international, but it's still spreading the Big 12 brand around the country. The Rucker Park initiative in basketball. You know, the media evolution. Could he do a deal with Netflix, tap into his relationship with the WWE and TKO and get a deal with Netflix? If he's going to do that, he needs to hurry because the SEC is rumored to be getting a deal with Netflix as well. Now, you've got the scheduling matrix they can look at. How do they schedule their games to be different? Do they play on, non-traditional nights of the week? Do they go back to divisions or even pods once they go to the automatic college football playoff berths? Or if they add more teams and go to 18 or 20, maybe they go back to divisions or pods then. They have to look at ways to be creative, and I think they're exploring all these opportunities. So what does that mean for the future of the Big 12? Well, in the short term, I look for the Big 12 to remain where they are for the next 2 to 3 years. I think they'll remain at 16 teams. I don't think any conference is looking to expand right now with the House settlement coming down the pipeline, with the college football playoff negotiations going on. I don't look for anybody to expand right now. Now, it would not surprise me if we hear some ACC teams announce they're leaving within the next 2 to 3 years, but I don't think they actually leave by 2027. Now, when you look at 2028 to 2031, which is when the Big 12 media deal comes up for negotiation, it's possible we could see the Big 12 go out and add a couple ACC schools. Or maybe they go out and grab a UConn. Just like maybe they grab the ACC schools just like when the Pac-12 fell apart. Maybe they do the same thing with the ACC schools if that happens. Long term, 2032 and beyond, I think it's very feasible that we see 3 20-plus team leagues in the power conferences. I think the Big 10, the SEC will both expand to at least 20, maybe more. And I think the Big 12 will take the ACC teams that remain potentially and add them. And you'll have 3 20-plus team conferences. The Louisville may add the Big 12 may add teams like Louisville and NC State or others to the mix. Yet they would still trail behind the SEC and Big 10 in brand value, but they would be ahead in that case of the ACC because the ACC would be forced to backfill with G5 schools. But let's just imagine for a minute. Let's, again, with our speculation cap on. What if the Big 12 is able to add Florida State and Clemson? Some way, somehow, some miracle, they're able to add Florida State and Clemson. Could you imagine a league with Florida State and Clemson, a revitalized West Virginia? Is that a dream? Or is that reality? You let me know in the comments section what you think about the Big 12's future. Also, hit that like button if you're excited about the Big 12's future and what's next, whether it be in realignment, whether it be college football playoff, getting 2 teams in every year potentially. Let me know what you think and what you're excited about regarding this conference, and let me know your concerns too about the challenges this conference is facing going forward. Also, make sure you subscribe here to the channel for more college football takes around West Virginia, the Big 12, and conference realignment. I ask that you please support my sponsors, Appalachia Digital and Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner Attorneys at Law. I want to give a quick VIP member shout out. My random VIP members of this episode are Kenny Evans, Al Walker, Dane the Surveyor, and WV Wildman 82, along with Hellbilly. Thank you all for being paid VIP members. If you want to be a paid VIP member, hit the join button below. If you don't see it, go to my channel homepage on YouTube. There's one right beside my profile photo. Hit it there. You can join for $2.99 a month or $4.99 a month. And there are perks that go with each one, including the VIP member shoutouts. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this content. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Help me get to my next big goal of 10,000. I appreciate you tuning into this episode. Hope the rest of your day is top shelf. God bless. Q Country Roads.